when I was a young boy, and I was left under the custody of my maternal grandmother. My father went and started a new family, remarried and started a new family. My mother went and started another family. So I found myself in the middle.
Yeah.
I could not fit in either of the new families. So I was left under the custody of my maternal grandmother, who was
Hello and welcome to number one channel. My name is Davy Chams, coming live from DS Images, bringing you different types of stories. If you're watching this channel for the first time, remember to subscribe, drop a comment, and hit a like there. My today's guest has a story. Actually, it took him 23 years to get his first degree. Before I proceed, allow me to let my guest introduce himself. Bro, you will introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. My name is Saitoti Olesalaon, and I'm glad to be in your channel this day. And we're going to have a talk about my story, and I believe you're going to get inspired. Because again, as he has said, that I spent 23 years to complete my 844, which ordinarily takes 16 years. Yes, so my story is such a roller coaster, to toka mbali, as we say in the streets.
Yes.
And I was born in a place called Nabilbil in Narok County. And my parents separated when I was a young boy. And I was left under the custody of my maternal grandmother. My father went and started a new family, remarried and started a new family. My mother went and started another family. So I found myself in the middle.
Yeah.
I could not fit in either of the new families. So I was left under the custody of my maternal grandmother, who was a peasant farmer. Things were not easy to come by. We struggled, we were really struggling even to get by, and even the basic things were very, very hard to get. So that is the father I've come from, and God has been grateful, and God has been faithful to me, and the father I've come, I can really say there is nothing like impossible.
Yeah, true.
All we need to do is to have a dream, to have a goal, fight for it through thick and thin, and we shall get there. Yes.
So, bro, your story is so inspiring, at the same time touching. Maybe if you can just take us to how life was. You said you were born. Okay, your parents separated.
Yes, they did separate.
Yeah, so you were left on your own. And how was life like?
I think to start with, my parents married when they were very young. My father was 19 years old. My mother was 17 years old. So I was basically a product of teenagers.
Wow.
And there were many things. Again, they hail from different ethnic backgrounds. And there was tension between the ethnic backgrounds where they hail from. So again, I think that and many other factors contributed to their separation. And life was not easy. Staying away from your parents, lacking the parental love and all that. You know, my grandmother was old. Her last born was older than me with 2 years. And she did not have many things going for her.
Your grandmother?
Yes. My grandfather was there, but most of the time he was not staying with us. He stayed in Laikipia, and my grandmother stayed in Nakuru. So the burden of raising us squarely fell on my grandmother.
How many were you in the family?
I was the only one who
the only
my
one
grandmother.
with no sibling.
The siblings came after now from the different families that were started by my parents. Because I'm the firstborn.
Yes.
Okay. So when I went to my grandmother's place, he had only 2 sons who were still under her custody. Others were big and they had started their own families.
Yes.
So I became like the last born of that family. And we lived in a place called Moga, which is a semi-arid place around Lementaita in Nakuru. Things were tough. And I remember we survived mostly on government relief food. There was that yellow maize that used to be donated. And people there were rumors in the village that it used to be animal fodder. But yes, in the West.
Yes.
And that is what we used to survive on during long spells of famine. We lived in a place where famine was the order of the day.
I remember 94, it was tough.
Yes, it was tough those days. So we grew up like that. And remember, when we get that ilikuwa gorogoroni, I think, of that yellow maize. You'll find that you have to use that for a whole month. So what my grandmother used to do, I used to go to Posho mill the maize, and then we could not afford to make ugali out of it because it will consume a lot of it. So what we used to do is she used to cook porridge. We could take porridge twice a day. In a day. And this is just maize flour boiled. There is no additive like sugar such that.
You just take water mixed with flour.
Yes. So that is what raised us in those days. And I remember we used to, when we were in lower primary, we would come out of school and then go to grace to a certain lady there who was doing well by the standards of that village. And then he would pay us with a bottle of milk. So things were very hard. And then we got to school, and school was, it was very different. That things were very hard at home, yet we were doing well in school.
In terms of
there was no, there was complete departure. You are excelling here, but you slept hungry.
Wow.
And that is an indicator that regardless of where you come from, regardless of the challenges that you're going through, you can still shine. You can still reach for those goals that you want to achieve.
True.
So things were hard, but we are still doing well, and I think that is where the desire for the hunger to further my education came from. The fact that I was doing well, and I felt that this was really meant for me. And after staying in Muga for some time, we moved to Laikipia to join my grandfather. And I remember I was in class 3 when we moved. So when we got to Laikipia, it was in 1997. I remember the campaigns those days. The most interesting thing was Masani Angilu. I remember
the slogan came
SDP. SDP, Charity Ngilu was vying for president those days. And when we went to Laikipia, and there was some ethnic animosity, and there was some clashes that happened. And we did not even stay for long. I think we stayed for about a week or so, having just joined a school there called Meriguit. Then the clashes erupted, and we found ourselves as IDPs in a nearby Catholic church. So we stayed there for some time. Then we went back to Nakuru in a place called Kambazi. One of my uncles used to work there, so he hosted us. And that is where again I rejoined school.
Now, which class was that?
Class 4. Class 4 in a school called Ordonyomara Primary School in a place called Kambazi. So that is where I joined class 4. Things were very tough. In fact, my uncle, mwenye tulikuwa na yeye, there was an uncle who was slightly older than me, I think 2 years. So he used to be ahead of me with one class. So again, he could not bear with the difficulties. He fell by the wayside, I think in class 5. And personally, I don't know, God has given me that zeal. I still hung there, and things were hard. I remember I had one book, one exercise book that I used to write all subjects. And what I would do is that when I write English, then a Swahili teacher comes, I will pluck the paper off. So the English teacher will think the book is new.
So where would you take this paper then?
I will hold them somewhere.
Oh yes.
Yes, I will have them. At the end of it all, I will have everything.
So that during revision time,
I will be able to revise. So things were very, very hard, and I remember I used to study in that school with a uniform from the Laikipia school. So I was very, very unique. You could just point at me because everybody was had the same uniform, but myself, I was.
You had a different.
Yes, and I remember we had a run-in with one teacher who told me that you should not be like that. But again, it was not out of choice. But with time, I was able to get uniform from wishers, people who have cleared class 8 and all that.
Yes.
So I was able to proceed up to class 6. When we were now getting to class 7, my mother passed away.
Wow.
So she had come from the marriage, and she had joined she had joined us at my grandma's place. So she passed in the year 2000, and I think I was in class 6 going to class 7. And things were very hard after her passing, because now all the other kids that she had in the previous marriage came, and now we were this big burden at my grandma's place. Remember, my grandma is a peasant farmer. She doesn't have a lot going for her. Now she's old also, but now she has 4 kids to take care of.
With all the struggle.
With all the struggle. So things were very hard, and I could not even be able to ask anything from her. Yeah, things were very hard. I could not even ask for a book, because even food was, book is such a luxury.
Yeah.
There is food which is immediately needed, but when it comes to other things, so and then those days it was during the Moi era. Primary school was not free.
It was not free, and
you had to pay, and there were nothing like school books. You had to buy your own book.
Yeah.
And I remember those of us who failed to buy books, we were put in a certain desk that you will not be. Somebody will not. A parent will not buy a book for another kid. So if you don't have your own book, if your parent doesn't buy you a book, then you will have no book at all. Because the people who will have their book, they will keep their book, and they will stay away from you.
Yeah.
Because I think there was this complementarity where one parent buys a mathematics book, mwingine anunua English. Then the kids, they share.
Yes.
So if you have nothing to bring on the table,
you'll be
put aside. Because again, not that they were so well doing, they are also struggling out there. So because I think the head teacher thought that we were not pushing our parents or our guidance, and he used to beat us. Instead of sending us away, kama hujalipa fee, unapigwa viboko 5, unarudi kwa darasa. So that way you will be able to push your parent,
so that you can get a book. Yeah.
So that you can get your book and pay the school fees that were required. So there was a time that I could not be able to bear it, because I knew that even if I push, there is nothing to bring. Yeah, and the beatings were increasing in frequency and severity.
During that time, the corporal punishment was
it was the order of the day, actually. Yeah, I think we were suffering from colonial hangover. I think that was the problem.
Yeah, it was.
So the beating were very bad. The beatings were very bad, and I decided to call it a quit. That is in class 7.
Oh, you dropped out?
Yes. Because now the beatings are so frequent.
Yeah.
There is no end in sight of the beatings. Because I don't know that I'll have a book next week. So I'm sure the beatings will still be there.
Yeah, continue, yeah.
Okay? And when you fail to do something after the beatings, now they add the severity of the... Kama mmepigwa 5 leo, kesho ni 6.
Ni 6 ama 7.
Ama ni 5 too, but the intensity... The intensity of that, kama umepigwa basi kesho ukalete kitabu moja, at least they will understand that. But when they are doing it every day and there is no change, there is nothing that is showing, then you become a victim of even more intense beatings.
Yeah.
So I dropped out in class 7. I started doing the manual jobs, the menial jobs. We used to work on people's farms where you would weed a piece.
Which now your siblings?
No, my siblings are kids. They are very small.
Yeah.
So I would join my grandma, because that is what she used to do, and my uncles, and my uncle who had dropped. Yeah. So we would work on people's farms, we would get maize. We would work and get paid in kind. Rather than being given money, mnapewa mahindi. You've cultivated a whole acre of land, then they are given maize, a debe of maize, probably several gallons of beans and all that. That is how we survived. So those days they were, I think they are still there. They would measure 20 by 20. The yards, and then that one will be given a particular amount of money. I think those days was 8 bob.
Yes.
When you cultivate 20 by yards this side, 20 yards that side, 20 yards square.
Yes.
So that is how we used to work on that. Then they were sporadic, because again, once you plant, you have to wait.
Oh yeah, once you plant, you have to wait.
Yes, once you plant, you have to wait for the plant to germinate.
Yes.
After germination, after several weeks, that is when the weeding will come.
Yes.
So it is sporadic. It is not something that you can really depend on.
Yeah, true.
Again, it depends on other factors. If it is not raining,
of course, you'll be hanging around waiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, with the wisdom that we had, we decided that I should get something that was more reliable, like something that I could be getting a wage almost every month. And then there was this guy from our village who was called Baba Jimmy. He used to work in a forest. I think he was a forest, one of the guards in the forest. So he came to our place and brought that idea actually, and said that there is one colleague of his who was looking for a person to look after their cows. And I did not have much options. I thought that could be a good way.
Yes.
So the next day we went with Baba Jimmy. That was his name. And we went to the said colleague who wanted a milkman, a person to look after the cows.
Yes.
And I was employed in that job. And the lady lived in a plot, but he had 3 cows. And we agreed after my speed.
Yes.
So we need
because at the same time you are risking your life.
I'm risking my life, and but she thought that I was just giving excuses for being lazy, because that day I did not have the grass. Nilikuja akasema kwa nini ng'ombe haijakula. And then I brought the story, so it appeared like this is a story. And the next day I tried in other places, but still in me I could not summon that courage to continue working in such kind of an environment. So after 1 week I did quit. I quit from that job. And she calculated that if I was to pay you 600 shillings for working for 30 days, and you worked for 5 days, that means I'm going to give you 100 shillings. So I was given 100 shillings. I don't actually recall what I bought, but I remember sugar was one of them.
Sugar?
Yes.
Sugar.
And I went home. And I found myself back at my grandmother's place, and already I've stayed home for 1 term, full term. Now we are in the 2nd term.
Without going to school? Without
going to school, 2nd term. Now we are heading to that term. And I remember I used to love football so much, and there was this gentleman who was working with Kenya Power those days, and he was doing very well. By the standards of the village, he was probably the wealthiest. So we used to go and watch football at his place, because he had that great one.
The great old TV,
Yes, a red one.
Those great ones used to be on demand.
On demand, and it was a sign of well-off, people who are well-off. So I went to watch there, and I was so passionate about football. I would watch, and I remember it was AFC and Gor Mahia, and I was watching the tackles, reacting to them and all that. And the old man was watching me with keen interest. Then after the game he asked me, now, because you love football this much, do you play football? And I said, I do play, but I'm not that good. I just love football. And he told me that if only you loved something that can change your life, then you love football. then you can be able to transform your life and that of your family. And he asked me about school, and I told him why I've been away from school, things have been hard, and he knew my family. So it was not, I did not need a lot of convincing to know my situation.
Yeah.
And he told me that if given a chance, could you go back to school? And I said yes, I would do that gladly. And he said that he would go and speak to the head teacher, who was his friend, and he will allow me back to school. And he even gave me the uniform. He had a son who had cleared high school, class 8. So he gave me all the boys' uniform. So, and he said that I'm going to talk to the teacher and we are going to see the things that you need, and you go back to school, because let me tell you, and this was his words, they echoed throughout my education life, they echoed in my mind, that if you totally want to change your life, that of your family, your best shot is through education, not those things that you're doing.
Or football.
Not football, not those other things. Not those menial jobs that you're working. If you completely want to turn around your life and that of your family, then education is your best shot.
Yeah.
There could be other shots, but the best shot
is
education. And I really didn't know that I could change my life for good. Yeah, I didn't know that. And I didn't believe that, that I can completely change my life. And that really hit me.
After this guy telling you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can change this. You mean I can really pull us from this mud? I can really salvage this situation. Then that really got into me, into my spirit, into my psyche, that it is possible for me to change this situation that I'm in. And it is possible through what? Education.
Yeah.
Now when that got into my mind and it got stuck there completely, okay? It got stuck in there in my mind completely.
So let's say, your story is more interesting and inspiring. I think let's just have a break and then come for part 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.